Hello guys, welcome to MJ Real Stories channel, where we uncover the rare, emotional, and often hidden moments from the life of the King of Pop. Today's story is one that very few people know about, yet it reveals one of the deepest and most touching sides of Michael Jackson. It's about a whisper, a quiet, gentle message Michael shared with a young fan just moments before stepping onto the stage for one of his most iconic shows. There were no cameras focused on him, no reporters, no managers telling him where to stand. It was just Michael, the boy, and a moment that would stay with that child for the rest of his life. Sometimes legends are remembered not only for their talent, but for what they do when the world is not watching. Today's story takes us behind the curtain, into the hallway right before Michael Jackson performed in front of thousands of screaming fans, yet chose to pause everything for a child who needed him. The story begins backstage at a major concert, a show that fans still talk about when they mention Michael's greatest live performances. The arena was packed, the lights were ready, and the countdown to Michael's entrance had already started. Dancers were warming up. The band was tuning instruments. Stage managers were shouting final instructions, and the floor was literally shaking from the excitement of the crowd. It was the kind of high-pressure environment where most artists would focus completely on themselves, mentally preparing for the next 90 minutes that would demand every ounce of their energy. But Michael was not like most artists. Even in the middle of chaos, his eyes always wandered toward people, especially children, who looked like they needed comfort, confidence, or simply a moment of kindness. Backstage, near a large equipment case, stood a young boy around 9 or 10 years old. He wasn't part of Michael's team. He was a fan who had been granted special backstage access because of a medical condition he'd been fighting for years. Local charity organizations had arranged for him to meet Michael, but the schedule was so tight and the backstage environment so intense that the meeting had been delayed again and again. The boy waited silently with his mother, clutching a small signed poster someone on the team had given him. He had practiced what he wanted to say to Michael hundreds of times, but now that he was so close to the moment, his hands were shaking and tears were slowly gathering in his eyes. The noise, the rush, and the pressure backstage were overwhelming for him. His mother tried to soothe him, but he kept looking at the stage entrance, terrified that the show might begin before he ever got the chance to see the superstar he admired more than anyone else in the world. Just then Michael appeared from the other side of the hall. He was dressed in his full performance outfit, the military-style jacket, the black pants, the gold details, the gloves, the shoes ready for dancing. He was surrounded by assistants adjusting his microphone pack and checking his in-ear monitors. Everyone around him was moving quickly, reminding him that he had less than 2 minutes before he needed to be on stage. But as Michael walked past, he noticed the boy. Something in the child's expression, the fear, the trembling, the quiet hope, made him stop. Michael gently lifted his hand, signaling the team around him to give him a moment. The crew hesitated because time was running out, but they stepped back. Michael walked toward the boy, and instantly the child froze. Michael knelt slightly so their eyes were on the same level. The boy's breathing got heavier, and he tried to speak, but his voice broke before a single word came out. So Michael spoke first. "Hi," he whispered softly. "I'm really happy you're here." The boy's eyes widened as if those words alone had already healed him. Michael reached out his gloved hand and touched the child's trembling fingers. The boy finally managed to whisper, I thought I wasn't going to see you." Michael gave him a warm smile and said, "No, I would never miss you." At that moment, the mother covered her mouth to hide her tears. What happened next is something only the boy and a handful of people backstage witnessed, but it became a moment that shaped the boy's entire future. Just as the stage manager called, Michael, 30 seconds. The king of pop leaned in even closer to the child, placing his hand gently on the boy's shoulder. He whispered something so quietly that even the mother standing beside them couldn't hear it clearly. The boy listened with total focus, his trembling slowly stopping. Whatever Michael said, it was meant only for him. After the whisper, the child nodded slowly, tears streaming down his face, not of fear any more, but of comfort and strength. Michael gave him one more hug, stood up, and with a quick warm smile, hurried to the stage entrance. The lights dimmed, the music began, the stadium erupted, and Michael Jackson delivered one of the most powerful performances of his career, a performance people still rewatch and describe as unbelievable, unmatched, and beyond human. What fans didn't know was that moments before stepping into that electric spotlight, his last thought was not about choreography, not about timing, not about pressure. It was about a child who needed him for just one quiet, gentle moment. Michael's team noticed something different in him that night. His energy was deeper, his emotions richer, his connection to the audience almost spiritual. It was as if that brief interaction gave him a purpose stronger than the stage itself. After the show, Michael didn't rush back to his dressing room or to his limousine. Instead, he asked one of his assistants, "Where is the little boy? I want to make sure he's okay." The assistant hurried off, surprised that Michael remembered the child even after a full concert. When he finally found the boy and his mother in a private lounge area, they told him something that sent a chill through the assistant. The mother said, "My son hasn't felt this strong in years. I don't know what Michael told him, but it changed something inside him." Years later, when the boy, now a young adult, spoke publicly about the moment for the first time, people were deeply moved. He described how he had felt small, scared, and unsure of his place in the world because of his illness. He said he used to watch Michael Jackson videos when he felt weak, imagining himself strong like Michael, dancing like Michael, moving with that confidence and freedom. Meeting him in real life felt like a dream, but the whisper was something he had never prepared for. When asked what Michael whispered, the young man closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and repeated the words that had stayed in his heart forever. "You're stronger than you think. When you feel scared, remember that I believe in you." He said Michael's voice was so soft, yet so full of sincerity, that it felt like a secret message sent directly to his spirit. He explained that the whisper was not just encouragement, it changed the way he saw himself. Whenever he felt weak, he replayed those words in his mind. Whenever he felt pain, he remembered Michael's gentle hand on his shoulder. Whenever he faced difficult treatments, he imagined Michael telling him again, "I believe in you." The young man eventually recovered beyond what doctors had predicted. He studied, grew stronger, pursued a career, and built a life he once thought he would never live long enough to see. And he always credited that backstage moment for giving him the emotional strength he needed during the darkest nights of his illness. "Michael didn't just give me hope," he said, "he gave me a reason to fight." People who worked with Michael weren't surprised. They said Michael had done the same for many children quietly, privately, without cameras, without press releases. He believed in healing through kindness. He believed in giving strength through love. He believed that even one whisper, delivered with pure heart and intention, could change someone's entire future. And for that boy, it did. What makes this story even more powerful is that Michael never mentioned it to anyone. He didn't tell it in interviews. He didn't use it for publicity. He didn't want credit. That moment was not for the world. It was for one child who needed something only he could give, reassurance from someone he saw as a hero. a whisper from his idol that told him he mattered. People often talk about Michael Jackson's talent, the dancing, the singing, the performances that changed music history. But rarely do we hear about the quieter things, the small acts of compassion he gave freely, the private moments that showed who he truly was behind the fame, the glitter, and the spotlight. This story reminds us that what made Michael Jackson legendary wasn't just his voice or his moves, but his heart, a heart that never turned away from someone in need. Imagine the pressure he was under that night. Imagine the expectations from the audience, the producers, the industry, the world. Yet he stopped everything for a child. For him, humanity always came before show business. Love always came before fame. And that is why so many people loved him, not just as an entertainer, but as a human being. In the years since Michael's passing, stories like this one continue to surface: whispered moments, quiet gestures, small miracles that touched lives in ways that can never be measured in awards or record sales. They remind the world of the man behind the legend, and each story adds another layer to the truth. Michael Jackson cared deeply, sincerely, and generously, often in ways only those closest to him ever witnessed. The young man who received that whisper still keeps the memory alive. He says that whenever life feels overwhelming, he closes his eyes and imagines Michael kneeling beside him, saying those same gentle words, "You're stronger than you think. I believe in you." And he passes that message forward to others who struggle, sharing the strength Michael once gave him. So the next time you watch one of Michael's iconic performances and feel the power behind his movements, remember that moments before stepping into that electric storm of sound, lights, and excitement, he took a quiet moment to lift a child's spirit. That whisper, though meant for only one boy, is now a message that speaks to all of us. Strength exists inside every person, even when they don't see it. Kindness can change someone's entire life, and sometimes the most powerful things in the world are spoken gently. And that, my friends, is what Michael Jackson whispered to a young fan moments before his iconic show, a message of courage, love, and belief that forever changed a life. Thank you for watching MJ Real Stories channel. If you want more rare and emotional stories from the King of Pop's real life, stay tuned, because many more untold moments are coming your way.